Hey guys, it's time for Lawn Theory. So crack open a cold one and settle in and let's get to it. On Lawn Theory, we're going to keep up with industry trends and hear from professionals who built businesses from the ground up. New episodes drop every Sunday, and you'll have new growth opportunities for your business every Monday. Now, let's get into today's episode. Hey everyone, welcome to episode 4 of Lawn Theory. I'm here with my good friend Zach. Zach, thank you for coming and spending time with me.
Absolutely, man. Happy to be here, bud.
Yep. So Zach is the prime example of someone who I think has achieved tremendous amounts of success in the lawn landscape industry. And today I just wanted you to share your story, not just about the lawn landscape industry, but we both share the fact that we're fellow leathernecks, both served in the Marine Corps. So I just want to share with the world the beautiful man that you are.
I appreciate it, man. Well, do you want me to start from the Marine Corps days?
You know what? We talked a little bit about Montana. I'm from Wyoming. You're from Montana. So
Yep.
Walk me through that.
All right.
Formative years.
Okay, so we're going to start back in the 80s.
There you
Way
go.
back in the day, back when I started out as a Broncos fan when I was 5 years old.
Yeah. If you didn't have a white snake, 8-track, then I'm going to feel sad.
Yep. So, I grew up eastern Montana, western North Dakota. Our family was ranch cattle up there for many, many years. My father was in oil and gas industry, so we moved around all up and down the Midwest, Texas, Kansas. I went to high school in Southwest Kansas. Wanted to get out of Kansas quicker than I got in. So I joined the Marine Corps out of high school to get out of Kansas. 5 years later, I'm back. Just celebrated 20 years of marriage with my wife last week. Really enjoying my time right now. Got in the Marine Corps in 2004, went to K-State, got undergrad in aerospace engineering technologies, thought I was going to work on airplanes, moved to Wichita during the recession, said nope, not that. Hid out in grad school for a few years. Got my undergrad in 2 years, got my MBA in 4 years. Did it exactly backwards. And was a director of ops and operations manager. Did a lot in the aerospace industry for several years. Was a hired gun doing business turnarounds. And then in 2018, my youngest son was diagnosed with autism. During that time, I was traveling a lot. And with travel and messing up, disrupting his schedule and his cadence, we saw it was just something that we needed to make a change with. So I started looking for businesses to buy. And so I was looking for something high margin where I could make a few mistakes and not get totally beat up by it. And then just looking at something that was local where I'd be home every night. Quality Lawn Care came up for sale. It's been in business for 25 years. And when I bought it, the previous owner said, hey, it's a good car. Don't tear it up.
Yeah.
And so the last 3.5 years I've been in the industry, just my goal is just to try to keep that strong name that Kyle built when he started the business 25 years ago. So we've had a great 3 years to start off, even through COVID. And I think being named an essential business was absolutely critical for our survival because we were able to still go and do the things that we need to do to take care of our customers.
Yeah.
So
So when you went and you purchased the lawn care company, what were some things that you saw that you could do a little bit different to increase that profit margin or your growth potential?
I think part of it was looking at, okay, what is our core business and who are we? At that time, mowing was primary, irrigation service secondary, and then landscape got squeezed in when we could. Looking at the margin of those different areas, mowing is great. I set up my mowing to cash flow 12 months out of the year, and we do the mix. The previous mix was like 50-50 to commercial residential. That just doesn't fit what we're trying to do now, and so I've kind of shrunk the residential and really focused on commercial. We've got several banks we take care of in town. We've got some large HOAs, and that helps us because early in the week we can cut those, and then on Wednesday, Thursday, those guys can go cut our residentials because they want their grass looking nice for the weekends. And then we sell the heck out of irrigation service work because that's some of our highest margin. It's a skilled trade, and it's a great stepping stone for our young irrigation guys and mowing guys who want to move into something with growth. You can pick that skill set up and take it anywhere.
Yeah, I completely agree. One of the things we were talking about earlier in the previous podcast was essentially building a recession-proof business and modifying your business model to move away from residential. Because a lot of folks, I think, if they're heavy in residential, they're gonna make a mistake if they don't looking for other skilled positions for skilled trades that you can offer services for, or starting to do a good commercial mix. And you hit the nail right on the head when you're talking about irrigation work. If you look at the industry, in my opinion, right? There's always an alternative to lawn maintenance. There's always a kid down the street that'll do it for $20.
Absolutely.
And there's always a guy in an unmarked truck that'll do it for 25.
That's correct.
Right?
Yep.
However, there's not a lot of alternatives when it comes to skilled labor, right? If their electricity goes out, they're not going to call the kid down the street, right? They're going to call an electrician. If you have issues with your irrigation system, most of the time you're not calling that kid down the street.
Right.
Unless you're really hurting, then you're probably going to be, that owner's going to be paying a lot more once they have to go in and fix all the mistakes that they made. So when you look at upskilling your laborers, a lot of people think, I barely have any staff now. How am I going to get them upskilled? So what would you say is like a good piece of advice for business owners who are really heavy on the residential side, wanting to get into more skilled labor and commercial?
I think the biggest thing is figure out who your identity is and who you want to be, and then set the plan in place to hit those things. For us, it was, we don't want to compete with the guys who can cut for $25 a yard. So we choose to say no to some of those smaller lawns that are not geographically right in our mix. And so having to say no was a big thing, especially during COVID when we didn't know when the next jobs are coming in. It was really just finding our identity and saying, okay, we've got to stick to it. We've got a plan. We've got to actually sticking to the plan you set up, because most of us know what we need to do.
Yep.
We just don't want to do it. So I guess my big three things that we did to help transition was size the jobs appropriately for our business. We've got crews with several people on them. So our focus is more on the commercial side, because it's easy to go blitz an entire HOA in an afternoon with 3 guys, and is to send 3 guys out in vehicles separately to go cut grass at residential lawns. It's a matter of scale. And I think as businesses start growing, I think as they scale, they move away from residential into more commercial. And then as they grow, they're going to hit a tipping point where they're like, holy cow, mowing's not where it's at anymore. They may change their identity to the next level, which we've seen that locally. We've got a couple providers who, gosh, they found out they are great at landscape construction, maintenance, and design and build. So they're jumping into that. And I think that's great, because I don't think, like when I think of my competitors in our niche or in our market, we don't think of our competitors as we're competing against them. We're like, hey, there's plenty of food at the table. We're going to join forces and cross-sell and take care of each other, because that's what good neighbors do.
Yeah.
And so it's a good culture in Wichita from that standpoint.
Yeah, that's fantastic, and I think really good advice. One of the things that I always hit on a lot, especially talking to younger business owners or even folks that are veterans in the industry, is the fact that like your business plan or your business identity is constantly changing, because the world is constantly changing. So if you stayed the same as you were 10 years ago, you're behind the curve, because a lot of stuff has changed in 10 years.
Absolutely. I think Deming said it best. He said, it's not necessary to change. Survival isn't mandatory. And he's a father of American quality. I mean, that dude, He said that to Boeing. He turned around Chevrolet back in the day, and Ford, I think it was Ford actually. But just having that mindset to where you have to adapt. I mean, we got that from the Marine Corps.
Improvise, adapt, and overcome.
That's correct. And so with us, I mean, one of our biggest challenges we see this year is just the volume of applicants is down so much for openings. So it's, okay, how do you maximize what you have? How do you be more selective? And then how do you bring those employees who are sticking with you, how do you bring them up? And so for us, it's been training, just anything we can do to get them more upward as far as skill set, mindset, whatever it takes to take care of them as best we can.
Yep, optimizing the staff that you have.
Absolutely.
So you can do more with less. Mm-hmm. Kind of that same vein of optimization, what do you think? We always tell people to crack a cold one and think about their business, right? Mm-hmm. Think about working on your business instead of in your business. What are some good practices that you have to like analyze your performance and then also keep up with trends as they're emerging?
Great
like
question.
For instance, if inflation, the economy. What is your kind of thought process going into all this?
Oh, that's a great question. So what I look at is, from a formal standpoint, as a formal business owner, I take a look at the books once or twice every couple of days and just kind of see where we're at. Last year was a big year for us. And so I just kind of bounce off where we're going versus where we are. The greatest way to measure yourself is to measure yourself against yourself. And so I do a look back and just see what tweaks I should have made, and I try to make those course corrections on the fly. Other things I do is I've got a great peer group, who are other guys and gals in the industry. We're always picking each other's brains, cross-selling with each other, just doing what we can to stay current and doing what we can to take care of our extraordinary customers, even if it means kicking work over to a guy who, hey, we know they can do this thing better than we can. And it's being humble enough to be able to have those conversations. And then just taking time, like today, this afternoon, I'm going to unplug and I'm just going to go think and have a strategy session. I'm going to go play golf. Don't tell anybody. But I'm going to go that's where I just get clear. I've learned through working years and years with high performance people is the ones who maintain that level of success, invest in self-care, take time away to unplug, and then just think.
Yep.
And that's what I'm going to do. That's what you do on Tuesdays.
Yep. And I think that's a great piece of advice because as business owners, right, we'll always come up with an excuse. I'm too busy. I hate hearing that. Anytime if I say, hey, how you doing? If you tell me busy, I want to punch you in the face.
Right?
Not hard, just a little bit. Just a little nice kisser. But it's because we're all busy. We can all use that excuse. But what are you doing to unplug? Think about yourself and how you can take care of yourself, because if you're not taken care of, you can't take care of your business.
That's correct.
There's a great philosopher named Ron Swanson who said, don't half-ass two things, whole-ass one thing.
That's right.
And thinking about how you can put that strategy in place so you're taken care of, your business is taken care of, and your employees are taken care of. And just keeping that in constant focus and knowing that it's constantly changing. So checking daily, putting in systems and optimizing yourself, your staff, and having time to unplug. Because the lawns are always going to be there. The maintenance is always going to be there. Irrigation is always going to be there. You're not always going to be there.
Yeah, we're all farm kids, so we know that if you wanted to, you could fill up 100 hours. You could always fill that time up with work, but sometimes you got to, like you said, unplug and think about working on the business, not in the business. And that's something I took to heart working out. Just how I was groomed and how I was raised by my mentors. They really challenged me on that, and they still do.
Yeah, and I think that's the other thing that I know I have, and I know you have, is finding a good group of peers and group of mentors to help push you. Because one thing that I harp on all the time is that if you're comfortable, you're stagnant. And if you're stagnant, you're complacent. And if you're complacent, you're dead. And so finding people who will push you to not just settle, right? Because pain is always temporary, but the benefits that you can reap from putting in the work, finding people to challenge you, in ways that you probably wouldn't expect. Like I remember, just like you said, one of the biggest challenges I had was a mentor telling me, you need to stop, you need to delegate. You shouldn't and you can't do everything yourself. And that's hard to hear from like a business owner perspective is how do you put trust in someone else? How do you put trust in someone else to run your baby so you can step away to do the important work, which sounds like non-important work. Like I would say the most important thing you're going to do is go and play golf.
Yeah.
Because that's when you're going to think and have good conversations on how you can grow your business.
Correct.
You're not going to have that conversation on your mower. You're not going to have that conversation when you're doing irrigation or being busy. And so I think that's probably the most important thing you can do.
I think you're exactly right, because we have to, ownership it's different. It's just different. In our family, we have a saying with our kids, show me your friends, I'll show you your future. And so we're very intentional with the relationships we have, like our relationship. We're very intentional with who I spend my time with, because time that's probably the most valuable thing we have as parents, as fathers, as employers, as whatever we are. Time is a very, very touchy subject with me here lately, just because, I could make the excuse that I am so busy to do this, I am so busy to do that, but you have to make time for what's important. Otherwise, none of this stuff's worth it.
Yep, exactly. If you can't enjoy what you're working towards now, then what are you working towards? You'll always be sick and tired of being sick and tired until you're not. So with that, I know we have a lot of very experienced business owners. We have a lot of those who are just getting into the industry. One thing that I've seen a huge spike of this year is people starting legitimate lawn care companies, and not just I'm starting a lawn care company, I'm buying a push mower. Like people who are investing in doing what you did, of either buying out a book of business, buying an entire company, or investing heavily in, hey, I'm going to get an enclosed trailer, 2 0-turns, a commercial push mower, the whole 9 yards. What is some advice that you would give someone just starting out to go into the industry as a way to frame where to focus? I know you said you got to focus on who you want to be, but once they focused on who you want to be, what is some advice to help them continue to go?
So, I took out an SBA loan to buy my business. As a veteran, I appreciate the benefits that having a veteran has when it comes to the government and supporting us. One of the things that from having a finance background and a business background, honestly, it's the math. You know, yeah, you're gonna go spend $18,000 on a brand new Skag or a new Walker. You're gonna spend $5 on a trailer. You're gonna spend $40 on your new truck because you're gonna buy a nice truck. So you're gonna have 60. Okay, 60 now. So you're gonna have 90 into this thing. What's your debt service on that? How long does it take to pay you back? How many lawns do you have to mow to cover that? And then how many more do you have to mow to actually make some money? And then run that dollar cost average and see if you're gonna be able to cash flow enough to cover it. And then the next thing would be smart about how you frame your contracts, how you frame your maintenance contracts. Are you going to do them all for 12-month contracts so you're not pushing snow every day when it snows in February, or are you going to do a mix of 9 and 12 months to really set up your business? For us, we had a goal where we needed, so all of our debt service is covered by commercial contracts, and those had run 12 months out of the year. So we're kind of like reverse teachers where we work the 9 in the spring, summer, fall, and then we take the winter break. Mm-hmm. So it's thinking about those types of things, very tactical thought process around, okay, you're going to go sink all this capital into these machines. Do you have the book, or how long is it going to take you to get that book built up to where you're in a positive cash flow position?
Yep. I would say money coming in isn't money going out.
Correct.
Right. It's really easy to get upside down and think, from a business owner perspective, like, oh, I made $1 million this year. You didn't really make $1 million this year. You brought in $1 million, but you spent $1.2 million.
Yeah.
And so you're running in the red, and thinking about how do you set that up to know that you're going to have customer churn. You're going to have customers who quit. But then also back to something you said earlier, one of the most liberating things I think you can do as a business owner is fire a client. Mm-hmm. And focus on your business growth, your route density, the services that you're offering, and ancillary services as well. Especially if you're looking to recession-proof your business, there's a lot of different things you can do. Because I think a lot of people, it's just really easy to throw in the towel. It's really easy to say it's overwhelming. I get it, and not everyone's built to be a business owner. Not everyone's built to do this. But what I think is, if you're listening to this, you're obviously willing to invest in yourself, and you're willing to invest in your business. I love what you said when you're monitoring your books. You're comparing this year compared to last year. What are some? I know for us, we set something that we didn't coin this term. It's from a book, but it's called BHAG, Big Hairy Audacious Goals.
Was that Jim Collins?
Yep. So, do you guys set any big, hairy, audacious goals for what you want to do in the future, or do you do any forecasting? Or
so I do the forecasting, and we, as a team, we talked about, our biggest goal my biggest goal as an owner is kind of like in the Marine Corps mission, how we fit troop welfare. It's how we take care of our customers, how we take care of our employees. The 5-year vision, it changes with COVID. I've realized, 3 to 5 year planning is nice, but don't spend a lot of time on it because we need to be looking at the next 6 to 12 months. And so I brought that in. Yeah, I've got a 7-year goal to maybe have 3 or 4 of these under my belt, but we take a more immediate approach. So it's setting up. So like our goals this year, where we want to hit a certain top line. We've got a certain top line goal that we're going to meet or exceed with this level of profitability. And then if that's the case, then that's what our bonus pool is going to be based off of. So it's how do we sell enough top line? That's kind of all of our goal. And then from the employee standpoint, it's understanding how they contribute to bottom line with efficient operating practices, not going back to a job site 2 or 3 times, and then just being smart and creative and staying current on their own on emerging trends in the industry. So a big change we made this year was not doing irrigation installs anymore, which is something that we've done for 25 years. Mm-hmm. But it's just, there's so many guys in town who that's all they do, and they're just better. And I'm humble enough to say, hey, there's someone here better that can do that for you, because it frees us up to go focus on the jobs that were much more profitable for us, but also gives us a chance to cross sell with a good group.
Subcontract it out and make 5%.
Yeah, something like that.
Yep.
But it's from a goal standpoint, our goal it's a weekly goal. We want to make 40 hours of good, honorable work, and we want to take care of 40 hours with the customers. That's that's how we set it up. It's so different than Marine Corps. If you look at any tour duty in the Marine Corps, like, oh, that's a big thing. Well, I found that when I was living meal to meal, day to day, that was when I was at my best. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of how I run the business. Yeah,
because you get into a cycle, you get into a rhythm, and once you build that rhythm, then it's really easy to go out and execute.
Yep.
And I think one of the things that we can get so caught up in is you can make those 3-year, 5-year plans. But another great philosopher, Mike Tyson, said everyone has a plan until you get punched in the face. Exactly. So and it gets back into that military adage of improvise, adapt, and overcome, is knowing that your plan is going to change and or fail. And how do you move forward with that instead of just saying, I couldn't do it.
Steve, that's such a big thing right now. Because when I bought this business 3 years ago, I was like, okay, I'm going to buy this one in 2019. I'm going to buy 2 more in 2020. I'm going to buy 3 more in 2021. I want to grow this thing to $5.5 million by year 6 and then sell it. That is out the window. Mm-hmm. There's no, because, well, for one, there's not 6 of them for sale. And 2, I've realized with organic growth, we can grow into those if we can find the census to support it. So it's, the idea you said the 3-year plan, like, oh, that's really not practical. So it's being humble enough to say, okay, we got to scrap that.
Yep.
Pick up the next one.
Yeah, and also knowing that I think goals are really good, but it's a double-edged sword. It's really good because it gives you a specific, measurable, and attainable path to go on, but then it's also if you're not humble enough to look at it through a lens of growth, it can be very defeating. It can be like, I didn't get this. I didn't meet these. But then going back, having the humility to say, I sucked. Let's change it. Or maybe it wasn't me. Maybe the pandemic really messed with you. Instead of just sitting and moping, for a lack of a better word, is how do you take that and turn it into something good? Because it's not a crap sandwich yet.
Right.
You can still make a pretty good hoagie out of it. And pushing forward. I think that's the other thing, is just pushing forward and being more resilient. I think you're someone who embodies resiliency. And so what are some things that you think from a personal habit side, or just who you are, to stay resilient,
keep your edge? Yeah. So my wife and I, we have a farm. I'm up early. I've been going to the gym at 4:30 every morning for the past 15 years. I think Jocko stole that from us. Mm-hmm. But no, I think having a regimen, so we call them success rituals. I used to be a executive leadership coach, and one of the biggest things I built people up on was success rituals. And so my goal every morning when I was an employee was up at 4:30 at the gym, 5:30 back at the house, having coffee with my wife, doing a devotional, 6 o'clock get the kids up, see them, cook breakfast with them, see them. And so that when I left the house at 7:30, my cup was full. I had taken care of myself. I had devoted uninterrupted time with my spouse, and I had uninterrupted time with my kids. And so by the time I left the house every morning, I was full. I was ready to crush the day, and nothing that could happen during the day was going to disrupt that, because I'd already done that.
Yep.
I think for a lot of years and early in my life, it was, we'll hang out in the evenings, we'll do this stuff at night, we'll talk tonight. Nah, that stuff doesn't work, because your evenings, especially with kids, when you're a business owner, it will fill up. So taking that intentional time early in the morning, huge edge.
Yep.
Huge edge.
Yep. And you're filling up your tank before you go.
Correct.
A great analogy around that too is, would you take a mower that's out of gas to go work for the day?
No way, dude.
You wouldn't do that. So same thing with yourself is what I found, because it's easy to fall into the trap, right? It's easy for me to tell you this. It's hard to do it. But that same adage of, are you taking care of yourself? For us, in our home, we do faith, family, everything else. Mm-hmm. And it goes back to that same adage of filling your cup up, right? And are your priorities aligned? Do you have things there? And one thing that has been huge as I'm getting older is the joints aren't as good as they used to. But if I were to sit and stay stagnant, it would get worse. Yeah. It's hard to get up and go to the gym. It's hard to get up and take your supplements, right? Because everyone wants a pain pill. They don't want a supplement. And I'm here to challenge that and say, you need to add some supplements in your life. Not physical ones, but also do the things that no one's willing to do now, so you can live like no one can later. And I think once you start harnessing that and you get those success rituals in, like you were talking about, that's where you can really become successful. But knowing also and being humble enough to know I can fall off the wagon. If I am complacent a little bit, complacency leads.
Absolutely.
So and it's okay. I think if you fall off, being humble enough to say, I messed up, let's get back on it and move forward.
It's okay to let yourself off the hook.
Yep. Because sometimes it's really hard to hold ourselves accountable, and we think we're the reason everything's failing. With that, what are some kind of last, as we kind of wrap up our time here, if you really wanted to impart knowledge from a personal side and a business side, even though in my opinion they're interwoven, what are some things that you would want to impart to people listening?
Whew, that's a great question. For people who are just going into the green industry and looking at buying, you go back to buying the mower, buying the trailer, buying the truck, it's what else you're going to offer your customers? How else are you going to differentiate? Because right now I view it as a commodity service. And so it's how do you differentiate and get sticky to your customers? And how do you take great care of them in the summer so they take care of you in the wintertime? It's finding out what you can do above and beyond cutting grass, because so much of our work is not cutting grass. It's just being sticky and all the extra work and all the extra opportunities that come up from that. From a personal standpoint, it's hustle. I mean, I'll be 41 on Friday. I'm getting old, but it's understanding the season of life that you're in and really attacking it appropriately. So, like for us, like I said in the morning, it's self-full before I leave for work. At work, I crush it, and then it's home for family dinner every night. So for me, it's understanding what's important and not losing who I am, and while immersing myself in this industry, which is pretty freaking cool. I was not, 10 years ago, if you had asked me, what are you gonna be doing in 10 years? I said, well, I'll probably have a nice desk, be somewhere. And now I'm back out working with my hands, which is a big thing. I mean, that's what our farm is all about. Morning Grit Farm. It's about getting down. It's about working with your hands. It's about discipline. It's all of those good buzzwords that are going around. Like, I'm a big Jocko podcast fan, and he talks about best discipline's freedom. So whatever you do it with discipline. Do it the same way. Make a repeatable process.
Yeah, absolutely. If you needed somewhere to celebrate your birthday on Friday, I highly recommend Morning Grit Farm. Especially if you get on one of those Shetland ponies.
Oh my gosh.
I think that'd be great.
We've got babies all over the place out there.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, he embodies entrepreneurship, and him and his family have a fantastic farm called Morning Grit Farms. My son had a birthday out there this weekend.
Oh yeah, it was awesome.
So if you're in the Wichita or Kansas area, be sure to check out Morning Grit Farms. It's a fantastic place to go spend some time. And you got a concert coming up here soon.
Yep, so we've got a summer concert series that we do. We raise money for Butler County Special Olympics, and we just try to have a nice acoustic venue for people to come out. I think we do 3 concerts. We had our first one right at the beginning of June. We've got one coming up first week of July, and then we've got another one coming up in August. We've got some cool local cool talent that comes out. It's from like 7 to 10. Bringing lawn chairs. It's a neat little concert, and it's a nice small venue. My wife and I are both country kids. We don't like going to places where it's really people-y, so it's like 100 people max out there. Nice, small, you can spread out. If you're that kind of person. If you're a city person, I don't know, but country folk, they have a good time out there.
Good. Well, hey, thank you so much for joining us today. I always really enjoy getting to know you, and you're a great person and a great friend. So
appreciate it, big dog.
All right, guys. We will talk to you soon, and we're going to go to the outset.